Josh, congrats on Off the Grid. I enjoyed the film. When you read the script, what aspect of Off the Grid really grabbed you and made you want to be a part of this project?
Well, there were a few things. Johnny, I got this script several years ago. It took us a couple years to get it off the ground, but we really loved it. I loved the idea of this guy living, with just the bare necessities and sort of left the real world and all the amenities that come with it to go hide out in the woods with, just his innovation and his will to keep this out of the wrong hands. And I love so it's the idea of living off the grid, which I also kind of do out here. It's much nicer now than it used to be, but and also the gadgets. I just love the gadgets that he doesn't use guns. He just uses things that he makes, and that to me was really fascinating. I hadn't seen that in a long time. Maybe MacGyver was the last time. And so, his ability to sort of innovate and neutralize the enemy without having to use, guns. Uh, it's that, and I thought the stakes were great with this cold fusion technology and how easily it could have been converted into something that was really bad for humanity. And his intention was to use it as a form of free energy. So it was there was this idea that he's living in this peaceful life in a weird way, something he's sort of grown accustomed to and actually has an affinity for. But also there's tremendous loneliness that comes with that, this yearning for human connection, uh, and how does that affect you mentally? So there's a lot of things that I just really liked about it. I just liked how basic it was and how gritty it was with tremendously high stakes.
Yeah, that makes total sense. I love that you name dropped MacGyver because what I really stood out as interesting to me was the action in Off the Grid because you do get to do some badass like stealth kills, but a lot of it is him using his intelligence and using technology that he's creating to gain an edge. What did you like most about that combination? Because it's kind of the best of both worlds. You get to show some cool stealth kills, but you're also outsmarting people.
Yeah, I mean this is a guy who is, incredibly intelligent, who's responsible for this invention that's worth trillions if you really think about what it can provide for the world. Um, so it the you know the st and he'll do anything to keep it out of the wrong hands. And so he has to be innovative. He has to have ingenuity in how what he does because he doesn't have, you know, the basics to, neutralize the enemy. He has to come up with these things that I think are uh, really fun. And I thought visually it would be a lot of fun to play. We spent a lot of time coming up with ideas on what those things might be. Uh, and how and I can't tell you how many times John and I went back and forth like, what about this? What if we use like a a propane, a little propane tank, and we were able to screw like a nozzle on the top of it, like a hose, and that could be a fire. We would just go through these, or we put a tube on the end of it, and we shaved down some bamboo sticks, and we use that as like that's his gun. So it's like this high powered bow and arrow using a little propane tank and some flame. What happens?
I love that collaborative nature that you're bringing up. Do you feel like you having directed in the past has made you want to collaborate more since you do have a more of a full picture view now?
Yeah, if there's anything, for the longest time, I didn't feel like I belonged in this business, like I was just faking it. I had serious imposter syndrome, but it wasn't until I directed a movie that I felt like, okay, now I have a full grasp of what is asked of me as an actor, because when you go through the developing of a script and you go through the casting and all the locations and and the wardrobe and all the, working out the how you're going to shoot these scenes with your DP and all the editing that goes into it, and even the marketing at the end of it. It's just like it's all you start to get a full sort of 360 vision of what you need to what your job is because you've done other people's jobs and how important everybody's jobs are around you and you know, um, how to, in you use the talents of everybody to make one vision sort of come true and rise up. So I think that has helped me tremendously as an actor, knowing what that editor and what the director is going to need in the edit at the end of it, giving them as many options as you can. Um, and so yeah, it has helped me tremendously to actually be on the other side of the camera and direct.
Yeah, that makes total sense. And I wanted to ask you about your co-star Maria in this because I thought you both had some interesting career parallels. She was a telenovela star. You obviously broke out in All My Children. You were in Call of Duty. She's now in Call of Duty. This is her first English movie, I believe. What stood out about just working with her?
That girl has serious motivation. She is unbelievable. She would leave Colombia, fly to LA. She had 2 days of work or something, and she would leave the show, fly straight there, do her job, and fly straight back. And she really, really was uh, excited and enthusiastic about being a part of the movie, and it shows. She's a tremendous talent. Um, And also, I have mad respect for anybody who has that much drive to make something work, and she did because anybody else this might not have worked.
And my last question for you, I was a fan of the two Buddy Games movies. You're back in the director's chair soon with Preschool. What can we expect in terms of tone from that movie? Will it be as raunchy as Buddy Games, or is it different?
No, it's not going to be as raunchy as Buddy Games. It is very funny though. We wanted to make something that's a little bit more for the masses rather than guys who love uh, dude comedies. And that's really what Buddy Games was. I was very, very proud of those movies. But they're not for everybody, and we knew that. And this is about two dads who are fighting and undermining and sabotaging their way into getting their kid into the last spot in this preschool, and they'll do anything to do it. And so this is a movie that I think families will love. It is still pretty hardcore comedy without being rated R. I think that anything I do in the comedy space will always have that just because I love hard-hitting comedy. So yes, it will have elements, but it's more for the masses than those Buddy Games movies.